Well, hello. Welcome back to Walking the Talk, the sermon podcast of Creekside Community Church in San Leandro, California, where we help you to walk out what we talked about on Sunday. My name is Jeff Bruce. I'm one of the pastors here. I'm joined by fellow pastors, Max Butler and John Bruce. Gentlemen, how are we?
Doing great. Ready to rock.
Eager.
Yeah. I'm ready to rock.
You okay over there, Dad? You're shuffling through your notes.
No, I'm rocking here in my chair. Just trying to apply what Max said.
Be the rock.
One's ready to rock. One's rocking. A little bit of a rocky start.
Mm-hmm. Ooh.
I know we got to jump in, but, it's important to own your L's. And I need to rescind something from the record, strike something from the record that I said last week. I bemoaned how awful the U.S. men's national team
Oh,
is.
yeah. And they did pretty well.
I mean, not just well. That was one of the best games the U.S. has ever played in the World Cup.
Since 1930.
It was a thing of beauty, complete domination,
Yeah.
finishing, playmaking, and the last goal is one of the most beautiful goals the U.S. has ever scored.
Yeah.
So, yeah. But who knew Australia's good? That's what blew me away.
Yeah. Well, there's lots of surprises.
Yeah.
This year's Worlds. It's pretty exciting stuff.
Yeah, it is. Max is gripped with enthusiasm over the World Cup. I can see that
I'm going to have to.
glint in your eye, Max, as we talk about this. Yeah.
Well, yes.
Yeah. Anyway,
I had to look up on AI just who can actually play for each country.
yeah.
Yeah, because I thought, can just anybody go play? Saudi Arabia, you pay me enough, I'll come pay for you, and stuff like that. And you actually have to have a relative in the country if you're not from there. You have to have like a parent who came from there.
That helps because at this point, it is so confusing trying to figure out, born in Germany, moved to Hong Kong. Now he's playing for Belarus. Who would have thought it? It's just
I
like,
know.
what?
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's look at 1 Samuel, and we're going to try to cover two chapters today, 1 Samuel 19 and 20. First, chapter 19. And Saul spoke to Jonathan, his son, and to all his servants, that they should kill David. But Jonathan, Saul's son, delighted much in David. And Jonathan told David, Saul, my father, seeks to kill you. Therefore, be on your guard in the morning. Stay in a secret place and hide yourself. And I will go out and stand beside my father in the field where you are, and I will speak to my father about you. And if I learn anything, I will tell you. And Jonathan spoke well of David to Saul his father, and said to him, Let not the king sin against his servant David, because he has not sinned against you, and because his deeds have brought good to you. For he took his life in his hand, and he struck down the Philistine, and the Lord worked a great salvation for all Israel. You saw it and rejoiced. Why then will you sin against innocent blood by killing David without cause? And Saul listened to the voice of Jonathan. Saul swore, As the Lord lives, he shall not be put to death. And Jonathan called David, and Jonathan reported to him all these things. And Jonathan brought David to Saul, and he was in his presence as before. And there was war again. And David went out and fought with the Philistines and struck them with a great blow so that they fled before him. Then a harmful spirit from the Lord came upon Saul, and as he sat in his house with his spear in his hand, and David was playing the lyre. And Saul sought to pin David to the wall with the spear, but he eluded Saul so that he struck the spear into the wall, and David fled and escaped that night. Saul sent messengers to David's house to watch him, that he might kill him in the morning. But Michal, David's wife, told him, If you do not escape with your life tonight, tomorrow you will be killed. So Michal let David down through the window, and he fled away and escaped. Michal took an image and laid it on the bed, and put a pillow of goat's hair at its head, and covered it with the clothes. And when Saul sent messengers to take David, she said, He is sick. Then Saul sent the messengers to see David, saying, Bring him up to me in the bed, that I may kill him. And when the messengers came in, behold, the image was in the bed, with the pillow of goat's hair at its head. Saul said to Michal, Why have you deceived me thus, and let my enemy go, so that he has escaped? And Michal answered Saul, He said to me, Let me go. Why should I kill you? Now David fled and escaped, and he came to Samuel at Ramah, and told him all that Saul had done to him. And he and Samuel went and lived at Naioth. And it was told Saul, Behold, David is at Naioth in Ramah. Then Saul sent messengers to take David, and when they saw the company of the prophets prophesying, and Samuel standing as head over them, the Spirit of God came upon the messengers of Saul, and they also prophesied. When it was told Saul, he sent other messengers, and they also prophesied. And Saul sent messengers again the third time. They also prophesied. Then he himself went to Ramah and came to the great well that is in Seku. And he asked, "Where are Samuel and David?" And one said, "Behold, they are at Naioth in Ramah." And he went there to Naioth and Ramah, and the Spirit of God came upon him also. And as he went, he prophesied until he came to Naioth and Ramah. And he too stripped off his clothes, and he too prophesied before Samuel, and lay naked all that day and all that night. Thus it is said, is Saul also among the prophets. I think Saul is a great picture of someone who knows he should stop, but can't stop.
Yeah. 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 No, it's interesting that this first time Jonathan is able to persuade him to spare David's life, though he quickly reneges on that.
Yeah.
But you see a spiral that he keeps spiraling down, and the harder he fights against God, the more God dominates him. He just, he just sees that he cannot do anything he wants here because God is really in control. And you really see God's sovereignty here through Jonathan, through Michael, and then through the Spirit of God himself, right, and forcing all of the enemies of David to prophesy, including Saul.
Yep. Yeah, it's amazing. It's interesting how Saul is cognizant at the beginning of what he's doing. And to me, it's an interesting window into his conscience that's quickly calcifying. And there's a sense that he understands how much Jonathan loves David. He understands how much of a mess he's going to make if he tries to do this. And yet he just can't let it go.
Yeah, because he's jealous that God's blessing is on David rather than on him, but he doesn't want to submit himself to God so that he can have God's blessing too.
Yeah.
He's really set himself against the Lord, and that's it's always a very damaging position to be in.
I think as we were looking at this, before, I thought it was interesting that we don't get insight into what David's thinking, but we get so much insight into what Saul is thinking. And I'm just wondering what that tells us about what the author is saying about what we should understand about our own nature. We're probably more like Saul than we are like David in terms of just being self-focused, self-justifying, etc.
Yeah, it is a interesting feature of 1 Samuel in particular that the writer never clues us into David's thinking in various points. We kind of have to figure that out, which means we're not going to identify as much with the hero of the story as we're reading, or maybe we're discouraged to as much as the characters around him and how they feel and how they, and I think that's actually a great preview of the Gospels in a certain way, where it's not that we should necessarily identify with Jesus and his experience as much as the disciples' experience and what they're thinking and feeling, because we're following Jesus, and David is a picture of Christ.
Yeah.
That's really good.
Yeah, so it's interesting, like you were saying, Dad, that when we refuse to submit to God, we try all these different ways of bypassing what God wants us to do, and in every single case here, Saul comes up short. So he can't kill David from point blank range in private. His servants get easily outwitted by his own family members who turn against him, and then at the end, it seems like David's out of options, so God just directly intervenes and puts Saul on the ground to try to put him in his place.
Yeah. And it's really mercy, because God keeps stopping Saul, and Saul just gets worse and worse and worse, as we know, throughout this thing. But God is giving him plenty of chances to repent and to change his ways, as he does all of us.
Yeah, I mean, so many. And even this last one where he's stripped of his clothes, and I think stripped of his royal clothes, prophesying, it's a great warning from God to Saul that the Spirit came upon you when I anointed you as king, and you prophesied, and people were surprised. And now the Spirit comes upon you and you prophesy, and people are again surprised. The difference is that before you were clothed in your royal position, and now you're stripped of it. And this is what is about to happen to you.
Yeah. 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 And I kind of wonder if that's the whole point of the evil spirit from God, to show Saul how helpless he is
Yes.
against these spiritual forces that he's trying to battle.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's interesting because Saul presumably hates Samuel too at this point, not just David. After chapter 15, at the end of chapter 15, there's this interesting little note that Samuel and Saul never saw each other again, and so I've got to think what's happening here is that Saul is kind of out of his mind and doesn't even know that he's before Samuel as he's prophesying, and Samuel doesn't look on Saul's nakedness, and so he's so close to the one that to his enemies, and yet he can't even do anything about it. He can't even look at them.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's just he's completely debilitated,
Yeah.
completely unable to carry out his evil will, even though he's so set on it. And I think it's a great picture of sin too. That sin weakens you so much; it just takes the vitality out of you.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. That's a great picture.
Yeah. So I think there's a progression here, as I was looking at it, that Saul loses his conscience, then he loses his family members, and ultimately he's going to lose his position.
Yeah.
In life. And so it's a great cautionary passage on the warning signs around sin when we're refusing to relent.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I'd be curious to know, what warning signs do you guys look for?
I think frustration, is always, or anger, is always a good, when you're getting riled up about something. I feel like for the most part, I'm a pretty easygoing guy. So when anything does stick in my craw, it's kind of a great dashboard. Like, I'm like, what's going on here? I mean, I don't necessarily notice it at the time, but like if I'm having an interaction with somebody and for some reason I start to get frustrated or angry, then that's a good sign for me that there's something that I'm holding on to, or something that I need to figure out what it is that is making me upset about this situation.
Yeah.
I think for me, it's just choosing the easy way, wanting things to be simple and easy and successful, rather than embracing whatever God's way, which may be more difficult,
Yeah.
is usually the more narrow road. Those things. And so when I get sloppy in terms of how I use my time, how I use my attention, anything, when I get sloppy and not concerned about the details, that's when I know that I'm drifting away from the Lord.
Yeah. It's good. It's interesting how readily Saul's kids side with David over him.
Yeah.
And really speaks to David's character and Saul's. It's just such a stark contrast, but I think it also points to a warning sign, which is that when those closest around you see something that you just refuse to see or can't see, that's a great warning sign that you really haven't dealt with your sin.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I'm doing a leadership cohort with some guys right now, and one of the exercises that we do is we give our wives questionnaires, and just ways to see where we can grow. And it's always a little bit of trepidation going into it.
Are you crazy?
Yeah. It's great. It's good. But what's interesting, I do it once a year with Cashel, and I've done it for, years now, of just a question of, hey, where do you think I'm doing well? What could I do to make you feel more loved, respected, all these things? And what's sobering about it is, at this point, there are no surprises. There are no surprises on the list in terms of the areas where she really regards, admires me, and the areas where she would appreciate X.
Yeah.
And I think what's been sobering about that, thinking about it, is just I've known things for a long time where this is an area that she cares about, and I have not taken steps forward.
Yeah.
And so I guess a question that flows from that is, what do you know the people closest to you would say is the area of growth?
Mhm.
And that's generally a good area to pay attention to because they see you in lots of different
Mm.
contexts and places. And if you already know
Mhm.
what they would say, then
Yeah.
either they're unreasonable or you're seeing something but you don't see it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting because I mean, as I think about that on myself, sometimes I feel like I mean, I can certainly know where I can imagine where that conversation would go.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I mean, it's interesting because in some ways, I feel it's not as willful as much as it is just feeling incapable. And so, I mean, that's an interesting, it's an interesting thing, whether you're, I'm not necessarily blind from it, but I'm just blind from the solution.
Well, yeah,
Yeah.
sure. And I mean, I think that's often the areas where we need to grow are the reason they're besetting issues
Yeah.
is because it's not like each day we consciously think, I am going to rebel in this
Yeah.
way.
Mm-hmm.
It's much more deeply rooted, and there's, I think, often a passivity to it that
Yeah.
I'll get to that. Or that's too complicated, or that's
Yeah.
too whatever, and you just kind of put it off for that reason.
Yeah.
That's I think why it's so insidious, and
Mhm.
is because it's not that you make this decision every day. No, like Saul, I'm gonna keep trying to kill David, even though you know what I mean. I think the way
Mhm.
that the heart hardens oftentimes, and I think for Saul it probably worked that way too. That if you had told him, are you a crazy man who wants to murder this guy? What are you talking about? That's not I know I have an issue there. I've got anger. I have things I need to work on.
Just protecting my throne. I'm protecting my family.
Yeah.
Family. Yeah.
Yeah. You don't understand the pressures I'm under as king.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. I think it's accepting. For me, it's just accepting this is the way I am rather than this is the way I should be.
right.
And what steps am I going to take to change that, even though they seem arduous
Yes.
and difficult?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Good. Well, let's look at a happier topic. Friendship. That's the ship I want to sail on. I don't know about you guys, but
The Love Boat.
the love boat. Chapter 20. Then David fled from Naioth and Ramah and came and said before Jonathan, what have I done? What is my guilt? And what is my sin before your father, that he seeks my life? And he said to him, far from it. You shall not die. Behold, my father does nothing either great or small without disclosing it to me. And why should my father hide this from me? It is not so. But David vowed again, saying, your father knows well that I have found favor in your eyes. And he thinks, do not let Jonathan know this, lest he be grieved. But truly, as the Lord lives and as your soul lives, there is but a step between me and death. Then Jonathan said to David, whatever you say, I will do for you. David said to Jonathan, behold, tomorrow is the new moon, and I should not fail to sit at table with the king. But let me go, that I may hide myself in the field till the third day at evening. If your father misses me at all, then say, David earnestly asked leave of me to run to Bethlehem, his city, for there is a yearly sacrifice there for all the clan. If he says, good, it will be well with your servant. But if he is angry, then know that harm is determined by him. Therefore deal kindly with your servant, for you have brought your servant to do a covenant with the Lord with you. But if there is guilt in me, kill me yourself, for why should you bring me to your father? And Jonathan said, far be it from you. I knew that if I knew that it was determined by my father that harm should come to you, would I not tell you? Then David said to Jonathan, who will tell me if your father answers you roughly? And Jonathan said to David, come, let us go out into the field. So they both went out into the field. And Jonathan said to David, the Lord, the God of Israel, be witness. When I have sounded out my father about this time tomorrow or the third day, if he is well disposed toward David, shall I not then send and disclose it to you? But should it please my father to do you harm, the Lord do so to Jonathan, and more also, if I do not disclose it to you and send you away, that you may go in safety. May the Lord be with you as he has been with my father. If I am still alive, show me the steadfast love of the Lord, that I may not die. And do not cut off your steadfast love from my house forever, when the Lord cuts off every one of the enemies of David from the face of the earth. And Jonathan made a covenant with the house of David, saying, may the Lord take vengeance on David's enemies. And Jonathan made David swear again by his love for him, for he loved him as he loved his own soul. Then Jonathan said to him, tomorrow is the new moon, and you will be missed, because your seat will be empty. On the third day, go down quickly to the place where you hid yourself when the matter was in hand, and remain beside the stone heap. And I will shoot 3 arrows to the side of it, as though I shot at a mark. And behold, I will send the boy, saying, Go, find the arrows. If I say to the boy, Look, the arrows are on this side of you, take them. Then you are to come, and for as the Lord lives, it is safe for you, and there is no danger. But if I say to the youth, Look, the arrows are beyond you, then go, for the Lord has sent you away. And as for the matter of which you and I have spoken, behold, the Lord is between you and me forever. So David hid himself in the field, and when the new moon came, the king sat down to eat food. The king sat on a seat, as at other times, on the seat by the wall. Jonathan sat opposite, and Abner sat by Saul's side, but David's place was empty. Yet Saul did not say anything that day, for he thought, Something has happened to him. He is not clean. Surely he is not clean. But on the second day, the day after the new moon, David's place was empty. And Saul said to Jonathan his son, Why has not the son of Jesse come to the meal, either yesterday or today? Jonathan answered Saul, David earnestly asked leave of me to go to Bethlehem. He said, Let me go, for our clan holds a sacrifice in the city, and my brother has commanded me to be there. So now, if I have found favor in your eyes, let me get away and see my brothers. For this reason, he has not come to the king's table. Then Saul's anger was kindled against Jonathan, and he said to him, You son of a perverse, rebellious woman, do I not know that you have chosen the son of Jesse to your own shame, to the shame of your mother's nakedness? For as long as the son of Jesse lives on the earth, neither you nor your kingdom shall be established. Therefore send and bring him to me, for he shall surely die. Then Jonathan answered Saul his father, Why should he be put to death? What has he done? But Saul hurled his spear at him to strike him. So Jonathan knew that his father was determined to put David to death. And Jonathan rose from the table in fierce anger and ate no food the second day of the month, for he was grieved for David because his father had disgraced him. In the morning, Jonathan went out into the field to the appointment with David, and with him a little boy. And he said to his boy, Run and find the arrows that I shoot. As the boy ran, he shot an arrow behind him. And when the boy came to the place of the arrow that Jonathan had shot, Jonathan called after the boy and said, Is not the arrow beyond you? And Jonathan called after the boy, Hurry, be quick, do not stay. So Jonathan's boy gathered up the arrows and came to his master. But the boy knew nothing. Only Jonathan and David knew the matter. And Jonathan gave his weapons to the boy and said, Go and carry them to the city. And as soon as the boy had gone, David rose from beside the stone heap and fell on his face to the ground and bowed 3 times. And they kissed one another and wept with one another, David weeping the most. Then Jonathan said to David, Go in peace, because we have sworn, both of us, in the name of the Lord, saying, The Lord shall be between me and you, and between my offspring and your offspring forever. And he arose and departed, and Jonathan went into the city. This is probably the greatest Old Testament portrayal of friendship,
Yeah, absolutely.
and really covers in these few encounters a lot of the core of what the Bible says about friendship.
Mm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, what stood out to you guys?
You know what? This read through, I didn't realize it earlier, but Jonathan had fierce anger. That's kind of interesting. I didn't, for some reason. I mean, I've read this passage many times, and that didn't ever jump out at me. But so I think it's kind of interesting how Jonathan channels his anger versus how his father channels his anger.
Yeah, because what is he indignant about?
Yeah. Yeah.
It's not that his dad just tried to kill him. It's an amazing thing. It's that he shamed David.
Yeah. It's like, so his anger's stoked when somebody else is being treated unjustly, and that's a great thing to think about friendship. And it's I heard somebody just saying that. Oh yeah, it's just like somebody, if somebody's talking bad about you, you can kind of take it, but when somebody says something about your wife, forget about it.
Yeah.
It's like you're
Yep.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, and I think, and you've pointed this out before, Dad, that Jonathan is more than a friend. This is bigger than friendship. It's a picture of a disciple,
Yeah.
really, in the way that Jonathan is treating David. The allegiance, the willingness to forsake your own family, father and mother, to follow David, father in this case.
Yeah.
But then also that Jonathan's life is kind of bound up in David already. That you are the king. I actually fear you more than my dad.
Yeah.
Have mercy, have regard on my family. And he
Yeah.
kind of throws his lot in with David here. And is seen in David in a sense. The fact that Saul is mad at Jonathan, it's really not about Jonathan, it's about David. And you see that because it's Saul is treating Jonathan the way he's treated David.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
and so there's such a close identification here. So to me, Jonathan is really the picture of a disciple,
Yeah.
of a faithful disciple.
Yeah. Yeah. I think Jonathan really is putting his faith in God,
Yeah.
because he knows God has chosen David.
Yeah.
So it's going to happen.
Yeah.
And so he's saying, please take care of my family.
Yeah.
And when you come into power, there's no chance that's not going to happen.
Right.
Even though you're basically on one step from being an outlaw right now.
Yeah. You're one step from death,
Yeah.
and yet I know your destiny.
Yeah. Yeah. And it reminds me of the first time we saw Jonathan, when he and his servant take on the whole Philistine army, because maybe God will save us.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah.
Yeah.
So they really are parallel in terms of their hearts for God.
Yeah. Yeah. To me, it's one of the great tragedies in the Bible that you didn't get to see David and Jonathan serve together.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because, man, did David need a Jonathan
Yeah.
in his court.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I only had a Joab.
Yeah.
Yeah. And Nathan.
David,
here and there.
I don't like you that much, David, but if you need a guy killed, let me tell you, I will take care of it for you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
It also makes me think of the passage that they will hate you because they hate me.
Yeah.
There's definitely back to the discipleship thing.
Mhm. Absolutely. Yeah. So what stands out to me, I think this passage touches on almost every mark of friendship that Proverbs talks about,
Mm.
of the marks of a good friend.
Yeah.
Closer than a brother.
Yeah, closer than a brother, but born for adversity,
Mm-hmm.
the candor of a friend, the way they speak,
Mm-hmm.
right? The honesty, the constancy of a friend, the consideration and emotional connection of a friend, that a friend has regard for you and how you're feeling. You really see that here as well. And so I just think it hits on so many things that the Bible says about friendship, and that I would say for most of history were taken for granted. This is what friendship is.
Yeah.
And yet today it feels very foreign to our experience to see two men this committed to each other
Yeah. Yeah. In this country.
Yeah.
in this country.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Because we see that in other countries,
absolutely. Yeah, and this loyalty to families across generations, and,
Right.
and this kind of
Right.
thing. It was funny. I was talking to a Creeksider after the service, and he came from a culture much closer to biblical culture, and he left there and then came back 30 years later, and he just said, "Man, all these guys are just leaning on me, hugging me, holding my hand, just like, what is going on here?" And he just
Yeah.
realized how acculturated he'd become to America.
Yeah.
In
Yeah.
terms of how we display affection and how different it was from his culture. Yeah. And so
How we display what?
yeah. Yeah. We just sup. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. It's good.
I like what you're saying about friendship being this relationship being a picture of discipleship, because I'm thinking about, I was just kind of doing a quick inventory in my head of my male friends, and that when I think about it, the people I feel most closely connected to are people that I'm actually spending time in the Word with, and getting, because what it does is it always, the Bible actually provides the candor to open ourselves up, to be able to go deep, to be able to really talk about what's going on underneath. And so I don't know. I think that's one of maybe we were talking about applications. I mean, really just enter into a true discipleship relationship with somebody.
Yeah.
If you really want to find. Now, I know that it's when we talk about our discipleship, we're not just hanging out.
No.
But it is this type of thing where when you get to that point, you can go deeper, and than you would otherwise.
Yeah. And I think one way I would push on that, and I know you got to take off in a second, is if all you're doing with your friends are hanging out, are they really friends?
Yeah.
Because I would say that friends, my best friends, continually push me to aspire to greater things.
Mm-hmm.
It's not just that we're hanging out.
Yeah.
We've led in ministry together. We've done things together. We've grown together. And so if you feel stagnant in a friendship, it's an acquaintance. I don't know that it's a friendship, because you need a shared vision of where you're going, and your friend is helping you get there.
Yeah, I think it's the difference between a fleshly friendship
Mm-hmm.
where you're both friends for your own ends
Yeah.
and a spiritual friendship where you're friends for God's ends.
Yeah.
And so the closer you get to God, the closer you get to one another because they're going the same direction you are. And and I found that lots of people like to hang out with you and talk about themselves
Yeah.
and stuff like that. But it is the rare person who wants to study the Bible
Yeah.
because they want to get to know God and they see you as someone who can help them to know God and they can help you to get to know God.
Yeah.
So it's really it was Jonathan and David's first of all love for the Lord
Yes.
that drew the two of them together. And I think that's
Absolutely.
really an important point. We talk about friendship, that it has to, just like a great marriage, has to start with God.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah, and it's interesting. We think that way about marriage. Oh man, it's a triangle, and you got to have God, and you close you go to God to each other. But we don't apply that thinking to other relationships. And then I got my bros.
Yeah.
And then the bros over here.
Yeah.
I've always had these friends. I've always hung out with them. They're great, and it's like, well, the Bible talks about choosing friends, not just ending up with friends.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so that means that you look for the kind of people you want to be in close relationship with, and then you give them permission to influence you because they are the kind of people that you aspire to be because they're following God.
Yeah. Yeah. You it's intentional.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, that's maybe the big difference.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's a way I would challenge, especially people who are younger, whoever they are who are listening. But particularly, you get a lot of friendships formed for you in high school and college just by proximity, and then you get out, and it's like, well, where are my friends? And
Mhm.
life's not great. And it's like, well, the reality is, friendship is a much more intentional project than you've probably
Yeah.
you probably recognized. And God was gracious to give you a season of life where a lot of like-minded people got kind of thrown in your lap. But now is when the real hard work of friendship starts.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you're not going to necessarily click with the people you think you are. It might take some work to find those people.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that when you're young and back to the fleshly versus godly relationships, you're just
Yeah.
looking for fun.
Yep.
I mean, you are kind of just looking to you're going to hang out with the most fun people,
Yep.
as opposed to being thoughtful and saying, no, I'm actually looking for growth. Musicians that I think about, the musician friends that I have are the musicians that are really the ones I want to hang out with are the good ones. The
Yep.
ones that I'm slightly less, better than it because I feel like they're going to challenge me.
Yep.
They're going to push me to where I need to go.
Yeah.
And those are the ones that I want to spend time with, because otherwise those are the ones that would be spending time with me. To try to be, I would be challenging them, etc.
Yeah, there has to be a little bit of a mutual admiration society
Yeah.
in friendships where you can see things that they are strong in that you're not, and they can see things you're strong in that they're not.
Yeah.
And that sharpening effect. But I think one other thing that my dad's so disgusted he just left the podcast. He's just
That wasn't
like,
very.
yeah. Thanks, friend. No, he had a meeting to get to, but I think this gets to another division that we shouldn't make, which is sort of friendship discipleship. That discipleship means I have a mentor and they're
Mhm.
but they're not going to be my friend
Yeah.
necessarily, right? And it's like, well, Jesus says in John 15, "No longer do I call you servants, but friends."
Yeah.
And so, even the Lord,
Yeah.
talk about a guy who, in one sense, would be hard to relate to,
Yeah.
right? I mean,
Mhm.
Jesus, you don't sin, I do. This is a tough.
Mhm.
Yet he even says, like, I call you my friends because I disclose my life to you. I bring
Yeah.
you into what God is doing.
Yeah.
And so I think the best discipleship relationships are friendships.
Yeah. Absolutely. Because it's a sharing of like you said, sharing of yourself. It's a desire for that person to have the best things and to grow. And ultimately all of our friendships, we as believers, we want them to grow in Christ. And
Yeah.
we want ourselves to grow in Christ too.
Yep.
Yeah. I know that I saw it, even just in terms of where I wanted to be with my family. I chose to be here at Creekside because I knew I was going to be pushed.
Yes.
I knew I was going to be challenged to grow in my relationship with Christ, and I was, and I have, and I'm thankful for it. So now I want to turn around and do the same.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's an undervalued thing in our culture about what is important to prioritize in life. It's like
Yeah.
job, spouse, where I live, schools might get into. It's like, well, who are your friends?
Yeah.
Because that um, Proverbs 13, he who walks with the wise will become wise.
Yeah.
Companion of fools suffers harm.
Yeah.
And you're not going to make it without good friends
Yeah.
who push you toward the Lord and who are constant. And I just think of that Shakespeare quote that, when you find them, bind them to yourself with hoops of steel, is what he says.
Yeah.
Basically, like, don't let good friends go.
Yeah.
Because they're rare when you find them.
Yeah.
And so I just think that's got to be a priority.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I mean, I've had friendships with, like Greg and Lori for a significant portion of my life, almost 40 years, and yeah, I mean, it's such a, and I don't really make decisions about my life until I kind of like think of how it might impact that friendship and that
Yeah.
relationship. So,
Yeah, that's a great point. I think, yeah, I mean, I look at our church staff and our culture. I mean, one reason it's so fun to come to work is I would count the people on the staff as friends.
absolutely.
It's
Yeah.
not just coworkers. I
Mhm.
really I want to be like them when I grow up, and
Yeah.
I enjoy being with them,
Yeah.
and so it really creates, it's fun to be on campaign together
Yeah.
and on mission, and so yeah,
Well, I mean, you brought that up in your talk about candor and being able to openly talk, and I think that you've done a great job of establishing that ability for us to feel that we can talk about real things, but um, not feel like we're under attack or that we're going to get fired, or it's like
yeah,
there's very openness, and anytime you live with that kind of uncomfortable fear, you have to really question: is this a true friendship, or even if it's fear of loss? Like, I'm afraid if I say the wrong thing around this person, they're
yep,
going to reject me.
mm-hmm.
Then that's a real good indicator that this might not be a healthy friendship.
Yeah, and that's a great question to ask yourself to figure out who your friends are.
Yeah,
Who can I be candid with and have a hard conversation or have an uncomfortable conversation, and yet I know that the relationship's fine.
yeah,
That they're not going to circle back to this a few weeks later and be like, "Hey, what the heck happened here? You did this," or they're not going to ghost you, or they're not
yeah,
going to, you know what I mean? Because you have enough social capital and trust that it's like you can stress test the relationship and it's fine. You can talk
Mhm.
about hard things,
Yeah.
and if there's any sense that you're walking on eggshells with a person, it's a good indicator. You're not quite friends yet,
Yeah.
or it's not a
True
strong
friends.
friendship.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. It's good. It's a good point.
yeah. Um, yeah. Any thoughts on making friends? Because that seems to be the great challenge in our culture, is just keeping friends.
I think you said it well. Just be the friend you want to have.
Yeah.
Get into that situation where you're drawing people out. It's a reciprocal thing. You're asking questions about their life. You're taking interest in them.
Yep.
And you'll know then when somebody actually reciprocates and
Mhm.
they start to ask questions about you, and they just take interest in you, and
Yep.
it just goes back and forth, and there's a give and take. Now, I mean, there's the discipleship component, and then there's also the evangelical component.
Yep.
I think that when you see people in the world that you like and you have common interest, you pour into those relationships. You
Yes.
ask them questions, and if they say, "Hey, my kid's doing a thing, or would you want to come to that?" You take an interest in them, and you make sacrifices, genuine, because you like that person, and
Yeah.
and those things, and then those were the opportunities to share Christ come up.
Yep. It's
Yeah,
great.
yeah,
One of the things that we've told our kids is friendly to all, friends with a few,
yeah.
is the counsel we've given them.
That's great.
So you should be a genuinely friendly person, meaning that you're curious about other people.
Yeah.
And that's how you find your friends. But you don't have to have they don't really count as friends if you've got 100 of them.
Yeah.
Right. A man of many companions may come to ruin, but there's a
Yeah.
friend who sticks closer than a brother. So
Yeah.
don't get too stressed out about having to maintain every friendship at the
Mhm.
same level. Find the people that you really know are loyal to you and are pushing you to grow and
Yeah.
stick close to them.
Absolutely.
And then you don't have to cut other people out. Be friendly. But I think you can't have friends till you're friendly. That's the
yeah,
that's the prerequisite.
yeah,
Is you have to be curious about people, and
Yeah.
And learn to just be interested in who people are.
yeah.
So
I'm fortunate. I grew up in a household where that kind of curiosity, drawing people out and spending time getting to know people was like a strong value in my
great.
home. Yeah.
that's
So
great. Well, yeah. Then it becomes a superpower because it's not. You don't have to work at it as much. It just feels
Yeah.
normal to do it.
yeah.
So
Yeah, and the thing is when I'm not doing that, that's a good indicator that there might be something
yeah.
wrong or
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I think one other piece of advice I would give, and then I'm done talking, is with the people you know are good friends, it's important to express your appreciation for
Yeah.
their friendship,
yeah, that's
and let them know what the friendship means. And if that feels weird emotionally or something, that's a good question to ask. Like, well, why? Like,
Yeah.
why? I mean, because you probably really appreciate that person more than you realize.
Yeah.
And if they were gone, you would feel it.
yeah,
And so just I think it helps to keep the relationship warm, and it helps to deepen it sometimes when you just say, hey, let me tell you what this friendship has meant
yeah,
in my life. And yeah, Kyle and I had a cool moment just this last week where I had mentioned in a sermon just a way he had been really faithful to me in our friendship. And it was cool. Like, we were able to like kind of reflect on it together in that moment where the Lord has brought us. And it was just a sweet moment, man, of just seeing, gosh, just how much he means to me,
Yeah. Well, we're fortunate in that we have so much time together,
Yeah.
and that we have these rhythms in our lives, because it's part of our work. Because the other thing I would say in terms of advice is the intentionality, because time is so precious
Yes.
here. You're going to get distracted and pulled in a million different directions. So if you don't make a habit or an intentional time to meet with people, then the friendships will really wear thin.
Yeah. It's a great point. And I think that's one of the things during COVID that a lot of people realized that they had just taken for granted was showing up to church every week, all the positive externalities of your life. And one
Yeah.
of them is you maintain relationships.
Yeah.
When you have a set time, you're going to see people.
Yeah.
Take it away, you realize how hard it is to find time to
Mhm.
see people.
Yeah.
And so it's just a great reminder, like, hey, here's another reason to show up to church
Yeah.
or show up to a community group or
Yeah.
show up to things. It's like these are times when the people you want to be with are going to be there anyway.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, everybody's carved out that time in their schedule, and it's important to them because they keep on showing up.
Exactly.
And just to honor that and to be there, and or if it's something, like if it's an activity like playing pickleball or whatever, swimming, it's like just make it happen and be there and show up.
Yeah.
So,
Absolutely. Cool. Well, hey, thanks, friend.
thanks, buddy.
Yeah. And thank you, our friends
Our
listening.
listener.
Our listener. You have been faithful, listener. Yeah, but thanks. We'll talk to you again soon.